Hey everyone, we're going with Cayman Islands helicopter tours for a helicopter ride over the beautiful Grand Cayman Islands. Are you ready, Dave?
Oh, I'm ready. It's gonna be epic. So one of the things you have to do when you come here to the Cayman Islands is definitely come out to Stingray City. You get to hold them, feed them, and get up and close with these beautiful creatures. And I also recommend if you're gonna do it, you gotta come with Cayman Luxury Charters. It's really great. They have a beautiful skidoo on the back, and they really help you get up and close and have that personal experience. What a beautiful day here in the Cayman Islands.
We're up at the observation tower here in Camana Bay, and it's at 75 feet. It's the highest spot in the island, a great place to come for sunset. Grand Cayman is known as the culinary capital of the Caribbean, and the best way to sample all the food is to take the flavor tour.
Take the ferry to Caibo.
Starfish Point, and I have a sea star in my hand. Starfish aren't actually fish, they're sea stars. It's a whole different thing.
Echinoderms.
Canodomes?
Echinoderms.
Echinodomes.
Derms.
Dunes, I don't know.
They don't have a skeleton, the skin acts as a skeleton.
So you can touch the starfish and lift them a little bit, but do not lift them out of the water. Just brought him out to the deep water. So he's safe. Lizu in Camana Bay, and Chef Johnny is putting on a show for us. We're having teppanyaki at the table experience tonight, and it's already so much fun. Take a bioluminescence tour with Cayman Kayaks. It's the only eco-friendly tour showcasing these light organisms by electric boat, causing no damage to the fragile creatures.
We're off to explore the Crystal Caves here in Cayman Islands. Let's go. We got to explore a lot of caves here in the Crystal Caves, and it's pretty amazing because they're pretty diverse, and there's a lot of stalactites and stalagmites here. What a fantastic tour! All aboard!
Strange how princesses and kings lose their hearts, sawdust in the oh, I say, come on, people like you and me, we'll be builders for eternity. Each is given a bag of tools of shapeless man and a book of rules.
All aboard!
Montserrat is known as the Emerald Isle of the Caribbean because of our Irish heritage. Many of our families have last names such as Mead and O'Garrow and Allen. Montserrat is the only nation outside of Ireland which celebrates St. Patrick's Day as a national holiday. In fact, we make an entire celebration of it and party for more than 1 week every March. In December 2012, we hosted our 50th Cultural Festival, almost doubling our population of 5,000. It featured music from our traditional groups such as masquerades and string band, calypso pageants and parades. We have come a long way since volcanic eruptions began in 1995 and we have far to go. Presently, Montserrat receives aid from the United Kingdom, which constitutes more than 50% of the annual recurrent and capital budget. The government is the major employer, and efforts are being made to encourage enterprise development with special financing programs. The government of Montserrat has a goal and is working towards it. By 2020, 50% of our revenue should come from the private sector. Is this possible, considering we have now been living with an active volcano for 18 years? We believe it is. The Montserrat Development Corporation has been established to lead the creation of a new town center for the island since our capital of Plymouth was lost in volcanic eruptions in 1997. Over the next 7 years, we plan to build a new city in Little Bay with neighboring port facilities to improve our transportation options for commercial and private access and to encourage business growth. To learn more about Montserrat, find us online at visitmontserrat.com or investmontserrat.com.
In the graves of this other Emerald Isle lie the bones of Ryans and Rileys, Dailies and Sweeneys, Chewits and O'Garas, names as Irish as the shamrock. But they're not the remains of white Irishmen. Here lie black slaves and their descendants. The story behind this strange legacy is a hidden, or at least a forgotten chapter in Ireland's history. It's the story of slaves who toiled for Irish masters, who were driven by Irish overseers, who rose against those Irish owners. But by an irony of history, many were to die bearing the names of their oppressors, Irish names, still commonplace here today, 300 years after they were first heard on Montserrat. And they're here because carried to the New World were the conflicts of the old and the divisions between Catholic Irish and Protestant English. The first Irish to land on Montserrat were Catholics, expelled from nearby St. Kitts by the British governor. As news spread of a Catholic haven in the Caribbean, more Irish came from Virginia, where they too had been victims of religious persecution. Within the next decades, from Britain and Ireland, more came. Servants, political prisoners, vagrants, men, women, and children from among the poor and their institutions. Craftsmen came, and perhaps some too who had been freed from their period of indenture, came to Montserrat in search of a new life. Three centuries on, what is an Irishman today to make of the strange legacy which those early settlers left?
My heavenly Mayflowers, I dreamed that paradise was made for two. You're my paradise, so cruel. I dreamt about your blue eyes. Say just because you're mine, sweetly I need my heavenly Mayflowers. I dreamed that paradise was made for two. You're my paradise, so cruel. I dreamt about your blue eyes. Say just because you're mine.
All aboard!
All aboard!
Grenada is a small country with a big history and a vibrant culture. Of course, we also have 65 of these, and a lot of these majestic giants, which are gently embossed by many of these. And above us, a perfect one of these. Oh, and of course, we're surrounded by this crystal clear turquoise stuff too. But then we have all the other things that you might not expect, which go to make our island so unique. Like George, Matthew, and Frederick, our ancient forts still standing sentinel, keeping watch over what they say is the most beautiful and graceful capital in the Caribbean. Who are we to argue? Then we have outlandish plants, lavish gardens, and talented gardeners that have led over the decades to numerous gold awards at the prestigious Chelsea Flower Show. Not bad for an island that is just 21 miles long and 13 miles wide. Which also means you don't have to journey far to see an awful lot. And because it is so safe, you really are free to wander. We don't have any no-go zones or armed guards at our resorts, just people with a ready smile who are proud to share the treasures of their homeland with you. Like our many local artists whose work reflects the vibrant colors of nature in their paintings, sculptures, and designs. And in our music, fetes, and our performing arts. And when the need for some refreshments calls, you can visit the only rum distillery in the Caribbean that still uses the traditional methods to produce their truly unique product. The perfect antidote to the hectic pace of Grenada. Only joking. And nestled amongst the trees in the secret north of the island are magical cocoa plantations, where you can discover the beauty of organic and fair trade products, where you can while away the day drinking delicious chocolate, or eating it too, of course. Pure Grenada, the hidden gem of the Caribbean, floating in a perfect sea, safe, welcoming, unspoiled, and filled to the brim with things to entice, fascinate, and inspire, and guaranteed to live in your memory forever.
Welcome to our twin island state of Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago is famous for steel pans, carnival, limbo, gorgeous beaches, and lush greenery. We are also famous for doubles, roti, and our world famous pilau. Please watch the video coming up next to learn so much more about this twin island state.
A brief history of Trinidad and Tobago.
The Amerindians. The Amerindian cultures of the Caribbean grew out of the tropical forest Indian culture. They extended all the way from the upper Amazon basin in Peru to Venezuela to the West Indies. The two major language families were called the Caribs and the Arawaks. The Arawaks were known to be more peaceful and settled into farming communities. The Caribs were described as being warlike. They moved around more and were never as civilized as the Arawaks. Historical records show that several different tribes of Amerindians populated Trinidad for as many as 6,000 years before the arrival of Columbus in 1498. The Amerindians were nature worshippers. They believed the Great Spirit was the God they could not see. They believed everything in nature had its own life and should be treated with respect. They had rituals for almost everything, including the birth of a child. Amerindian cuisine is still enjoyed today by many Trinidadians. Cuisines such as cassava bread, barbecued wild game, and corn pasteles. Parang music, which is popular at Christmas time in Trinidad, is a hybrid of Spanish and Amerindian musical styles. The African influence. Before the 1780s, there were just a few African slaves in Trinidad. The Amerindian population was rapidly shrinking. They were now being captured by the Spanish colonists, who were transporting them to other islands, such as Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and Jamaica. By the 1780s, plantations grew with the arrival of the French and other Catholic settlers like the Dutch. Sugar and cotton was being grown, and the need for African slave labor increased. More Africans from other islands arrived with their owners. They were first, second, third generation, born in the Caribbean. They were French or Spanish speaking and considered valuable by their masters. By 1797, the English had conquered Spain, and Trinidad was now under British rule. Soon, more slaves were brought in from the African continent. It was a hard life for the slaves. By 1834, slavery was completely abolished by the British Empire. On August 1, 1838, full freedom was granted to the slaves in Trinidad and Tobago. As the older Africans passed away, the dominant population consisted of Creoles, people of African descent mixed with French, Spanish, and English. Tobago's experience, however, was slightly different to Trinidad's. Plantations were set up and sugar was the main crop. The majority of the population was African, and many of the planters did not live on the island. When slavery was abolished in 1834, the economy suffered, and because of this, in 1889, the British merged Tobago with Trinidad. Both islands gained independence from England in 1962. Today, the African influence is still present in our music, dance, religion, language, and food. Robust stews and one-pot comfort foods have been refined to create signature dishes like pilau, macaroni pie, and hearty soups. The East Indian and Asian influence. From the 1830s to 1917, after slavery was abolished, landowners imported thousands of laborers from China and the Middle East. Starting in 1845, they were replaced by laborers from India. At one point, over 170,000 laborers were working on vast sugarcane and cocoa plantations. These laborers would sometimes work up to 12 hours in the hot sun under poor conditions. During World War II, large numbers of U.S. soldiers and sailors were posted to Trinidad to build and maintain military bases. Better roads were built and transportation improved. Many rural East Indians, for the first time, found sources of income outside of the cane field. Today, East Indians make up a little under half of the island's population. Trinidad's culture is heavily influenced by East Indian culture through festivals such as Diwali, the Festival of Lights, and Pagua or Holi. Also through foods such as roti and curries and various Indian desserts. In Trinidad and Tobago, a combination of cultures can be found across the islands. These influences are also present during the Carnival Festival, where a fusion of Amerindian, European, African, Middle Eastern, Asian, and East Indian heritage are all represented.
This was a brief history of Trinidad and Tobago.
Trini, Thank